A very good afternoon to you, my friends, and welcome along to Matchday Live. Here he is, Pep Guardiola, arriving at the Etihad Stadium a little bit earlier, and the team as they get ready to take on Burnley in our first game back after the international break. It is a 3 p.m. kickoff here at the Etihad Stadium. As always, it is an absolute treat to be with you this Saturday afternoon. My name is Cel Spellman. Thank you for tuning in to Matchday Live, and what a show we have for you. We're going to be bringing you all the match build-up ahead of our game against Burnley, which is going to take place on that pitch right behind me. It's hallowed turf here at the Etihad Stadium, and we have got two legends joining me in the studio in the form of Mr. Shaun and, of course, Mr. Trevor Sinclair, who's making his Matchday Live debut. What a treat to have you here, Trev.
Delighted to be here, Carl. Thank you for having me.
Tell us, obviously we've had a kind of a start to the season that has kind of been a few ups and downs, but we found a flow. What have you made of how the top of the table is looking so far?
Great. I think it's a fantastic race at the top of the table. Obviously Liverpool look really strong. I expected Chelsea to look strong after getting Lukaku in. Manchester United, not as strong as I thought they would be, and City are probably somewhere in between, but I think they've started well. They've got a nice little flow about them. Grealish has hit the ground running. Yeah. I think he's a fan's favourite. Every kid that I ask, who's your favourite player? Grealish.
Yeah,
he started really well. He's got charisma, he's got personality on the pitch, and I think he's been excellent down that left-hand side. And the left-hand side for us, we have looked unbelievable. Like controlling, patterns of play, individual skill, movement off the ball. So I think that's a real highlight for me at this opening, 7 games of the season, the left-hand side.
Really, really is. And that's something actually I think it's been a while since we've kind of actually spoke about the left-hand side being so strong. Cancelo's had a big part to play in that as well, Trevor.
He has, yeah. I mean, we've seen, when he first comes to the club, I seen him in a warm-up for his first game and I thought, ooh, he looks a player. Like he's touch, he had a little bit about him, and then he actually struggled a little bit at the start of his time at the club. And then in time he's got used to it. I think he's got to know the lads and the coach. The lads have got to know him, and then he started to play well. And back in the last season, I thought he was excellent. He started the start of this season really well and exciting because he's. You know, if you look at all the players' performances, he's been one of the top performers.
He really has. Well, we're going to find out in just a couple of minutes if he is in the starting 11. But before that, a congratulations is in order to you, Mr. Shaun, because there is a new role that you're going to be taking on part of the club, kind of working with the academy. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I haven't started this yet. Just still waiting for some forms to be sorted. But I'm really excited because, again, you know, if you want to learn your trade. What better place than Manchester City, the best academy in the world, in my eyes, to be able to learn and also pass on a bit of my knowledge and wisdom. I'm really excited about it. So can't wait to get started. Just really excited.
You'll have to be bringing up a few of the players from the academy as you go to the show. Do you know what I mean? On weekends.
Shadow of a doubt, yes, that will happen without doubt.
Just a few sign-ups, yeah?
Certainly.
Well, listen, my friends, thank you for joining in. I can tell you that we've got so much coming up in today's show. We're, of course, going to be taking a little look back at Trev's time at Manchester City, including, of course, working with Sven-Goran Eriksson. We've got a sneak peek as well of a brand new feature that's coming to City TV in just a bit. And also, we are going to be asking you for your questions. So if you want to get involved, very, very simple. You can just drop us a little WhatsApp, and that is the way you can put questions to maybe to Shaun or to Trevor. I'll be working on them in a little bit later on, maybe the end of the show, and then half-time and full-time. Remember, we'll be back to talk about everything we've seen on the pitch, and also can ask these legends right here what they're thinking. But without further ado, let me bring you our starting 11 as chosen by Pep Guardiola. It looks like this. Zach Stefan starts in goal. Now, we're going to have a little debate here in the studio to try and work out a lineup, but we'll say there's 4 at the back at the moment. We think it could also be a 3-4-3, but if we said 4, we're thinking it's going to be Cancelo at right back, Stones partners Laporte in the middle, Ake at left back, Rodri holding, very similar to Liverpool with Bernardo and De Bruyne in front of him, and a forward 3, and where they play, apart from Mahrez maybe on the right, that's kind of up for debate as well. Phil Foden and Raheem Sterling also starts. Now, you'll be noticing a few names missing in the form of Ederson and Gabriel Jesus, but Scott Carson is on the bench with Slicker, and we also have Kyle Walker, Ruben Diaz, Ilkay Gundogan, Jack Grealish, Zinchenko returns from injury, Fernandinho and Cole Palmer complete the bench. Trev, I'll come to you straight away. I've said the 4, but we're also thinking it could potentially be a 3-4-3, maybe.
Yeah, it could be a 3-4-3, and I think just the fact that we're going to have a lot of possession against Burnley, or you would imagine we're going to have a lot of possession against Burnley, that could work. But I think it's one of them where it can change. You know, it might be a 4 at the back to start with, and actually, when you get clever coaches, they'll start the game, they'll take the knee and they'll set up as a 4, and as soon as the game starts, they go into a 3.
Yeah.
So it's just like little tricks that coaches use to try and bamboozle the opposite technical area. So we don't know, and even when the game starts, we still won't know. So Pep's a little bit cleverer than us. So we'll have to just see how the pattern of the game starts out. But it could be a 3 with Ake on the left and I would say Laporte in the middle.
Yeah.
And it'd be very strong, obviously, going to the left end because both of them players are left-footed and John Stones on the right. But we'll wait and see. But exciting lineup. Bit disappointed not to see Jack. I understand why. Played most of the games for England. Was superb again. But yeah, hopefully he'll feature today.
Absolutely. I mean, I hope he does as well, just from a fantasy football, because he is on the pitch and he's not starting at the moment. Shaun, one of the names though that jumped out at me seeing Ruben Diaz on the bench. Do we think that's maybe just kind of him coming back from international duty as well and just giving him a little bit of a break? Nothing to be worried about there, I don't think.
No, nothing to be worried about. I think Ruben Diaz has started every game, and so again, I think it's looking at the hours that he puts on the pitch, the number of games, workload essentially. So I think he'd just be rested in this game, or the rotation as we see Pep is always looking to do. So no worries with him. I feel very confident about the team. And again, I think in the opening 15 minutes will be very important for City, because the history has showed that City either score early, hit the ground running, or tend to score sort of 60 minutes to 90 minutes when they're scoring against Burnley. So it's been interesting to see what happens in the opening 15 minutes of City. And we know if City got to go in the first 15 minutes, and Burnley typically will have a low block, it'll be defence against attack. So.
Speaking of attack, Shaun, as we say, it's always up for debate about who's going to play where, but who would be your preference to say, assuming that kind of striking false 9 role, I guess, now that we play? Who is it that you like to see there?
I've seen everyone play that role and play it well. I've seen De Bruyne go up there and play it well. I've seen Foden play the number 9, false 9, and play it well. And I don't come away with, because whenever we've had different, personnel, Bernardo Silva play up there, they just all know to sort of fill roles. So perhaps if the number 9 isn't in that 9 position, someone else is filling it. And this is what I love about Pep's team, in that they all rotate. I think it'll be Sterling. He seems to have gone with Sterling up the middle. So I think Sterling will be playing that role as centre forward or, false 9. But again, if he drifts out wide, you'll find that, the wide players, Mahrez is the only one that tends not to be played sort of central or drifts in there, and that's because he's just got such ability to beat players. I mean, Trevor was a wide player, but how just brilliant he is.
Well, I actually started off as a centre forward, big man, little man, with Dave Bamber up front for Blackpool in the old 4th division. But I have to say, and I'd like to get your opinion on this, Shaun. What I feel the number 9 or the false number 9, when you're playing on your own, obviously you tended to play with an extra centre forward with you, but in today's game it used to be one focal point on his own, whether it's a 9 or a false 9. I think it's the most difficult position on the pitch to play. Take goalkeeper out of that, because I don't really know much about goalkeepers, but I think knowing when to turn, when to hold the ball up, when to play the way you're facing, what runs to make, and when you can play it first time, because as a coach, and obviously Shaun, you've coached as well, but as a coach, one of my pet hates is if the ball goes into your centre forward as that out ball, you're under a bit. You turn the ball over, you get the ball into your centre forward. That's a trigger for players to start making moves up the pitch.
Yes.
If he flicks it and gives the ball away, all of a sudden you're under it again.
Yeah.
So it's a pet hate of mine. And I think when we started talking about Mahrez is not reliable enough, because he's such an individual and he's got so much creativity. He's not disciplined enough to get that ball under control and do what you're supposed to do.
In a number 9 position.
Yeah, obviously on the wing he's absolutely different class. But as a centre forward, that's why I don't think he's played there as much as some of the other players. But when you're talking about Raheem, he is going to try and play there. I think he will start there today. It's a really, especially when you're 26 and you're trying to learn a new role in the team, it's quite a difficult thing to do. And I know he's played there a couple of times before, but to play in the Premier League against elite Premier League defenders, to then get thrown up as a number 9 and be expected to do it as well as, someone who's been playing there for 15 years.
Yeah.
You can imagine the amount of time they've had to learn that trait and different things in different scenarios of the pitch. It's very hard to ask a winger to go in there and start doing it all really well from the beginning.
Well, but I'm glad you mentioned it, because I think that was one of my kind of what I wanted to talk about, is going, do you think as fans sometimes, now, me being one of them, you see them play there and you expect them. There's an expectancy where you go, well, you should be bossing it. You know, Raheem Sterling should be playing in number 9 and being able to do it. But I just say, do you think sometimes we actually don't appreciate that they are having to play a whole different role? I mean, a prime example of it for me was in the Liverpool game. Now, it was my granddad was like, thought Jack Grealish has been quiet. And then I watched that, I was like, he's playing as a striker.
He is,
I was like, he's never will have played there in his entire career.
He probably plays there in training, thinking he's a striker, as we all do.
But, I mean, do you think there is, sometimes we just lack that little bit of thought to appreciate that it is an entirely new role to what they'll have been used to, Trev?
I think if you've not played the game and you don't realise how much goes into playing that role, not so much out of possession, because I think you can say, right, as a coach, you can say to the centre forward, right, if the ball goes to one of the centre halves, you split the centre halves, chase him in, so you're blocking the other centre half off.
Yeah.
Out of possession, it's pretty much as simple as that. In possession, there's too much. You know, when do you flick it? When do you hold it? When do you stick your backside out and try and win the foul?
Yeah.
When do you pick it out and like look to come off on a? If you go straight at the ball, it's easy for a defender to just put his studs down the back of your heel. Now, if you come off at an angle, you can see the defender. So there's too many things to remember. I mean, even as a coach, you know, reminding players, reminding. These lads have been playing there 15 years. I'll analyse it this way. When I seen the fight between Deontay Wilder trying to box against the Gypsy King. The Gypsy King's been doing it since he was 8.
Yeah.
He's trying to learn it in 6 months, 12 months. He's never going to be able to get to the same level. It's a little bit like playing a winger instead of centre forward.
Yeah.
They'll try the best, but they're never going to be able to do it as well as proper number 9s do it.
It's such a great analogy, and I guess, I mean, unfortunately, and this is, you know, I kind of can always happen, can't it, on international duty. We know that, unfortunately, Fran Torres, I think, has picked up a small fracture in his foot, so he's going to be out for about 4 to 6 weeks, I believe. But then going off that just goes to show how impressive it is to see what he's done, assuming that role when he's played, Shaun. I know we haven't got him to fall back on, but it does kind of show he must have some ability.
Well, Torres, I know how many times I've said it. I've been so impressed with this player. I mean, he's come in and we're thought essentially as a wide player, but as a centre forward, I watch him and I think he makes his runs, his timing of his runs, the intelligence of his game, and I just think every time I watch him, I think, I wouldn't do anything different, and that's not to say that I was great in that way, but I mean he thinks like a striker, he runs like a striker, the movements, and he has just a tad bit more quality than I did.
Yeah, I don't know, Shaun.
Like not that much, but about that much. But he for me. I see him now as a centre forward because when I watch him, I think this guy's movement, his playing on the shoulder, his ability to run along the line, and his finishing. He doesn't need 3 chances. You know, for me, if he gets 2 chances, and I've said it before, he normally hits the target with both chances, and that means the goalkeeper has to pull off a save, and that's how highly I rate him. I think he's a phenomenal centre forward. So he's not, you know, part of things now, so we wish him a speedy recovery, but I love what I see with him.
I want to mention the midfield, but final word on this is, and there's obviously been a lot of talk, I think, outside the club, you know, about should we have signed that number 9? When we're not kind of getting the goals, everyone's going, that's case in point. But I think any City fans, and if you've watched the games, the problem actually hasn't been, you know, not having a striker, because we've been creating enough opportunities to score. They're just not going in the back of the net.
Yeah, and I think I'll go off the back of what Shaun said there. You know, I think Torres has always been a good finisher, and if you look at his like physical strengths as a winger, I've seen him a few times struggle in a one-on-one situation to take the full-back on and get the crosses in. But actually, he's a good finisher. So you look at Mikel Antonio at West Ham. He's not always been a centre-forward. He was playing wing-back. He was playing a winger. He's played he's played full-back. And all of a sudden, it might be a bit of luck. And all of a sudden, he's ended up in the centre-forward position. You think, actually, if you can just tweak him a little bit and get him to do the fundamentals well as a centre-forward, he could be our striker. And that's how it's worked out for him. I think similarly to Torres, you know, he might have came in as a winger and you're thinking he's not as good as Mahrez, or he's not getting the same kind of quality and performance as Mahrez. He can't play as well as Raheem or as well as Foden on the left, and now you've got Grealish as well. Yeah. Where could we play him? And they've put him in as a number 9. Physically, he looks well because he's quite a well-shaped guy. His touch is good, but like Shaun said, his movement to get into the areas at the right time, because you see a lot of players stood still and the ball's still not on its way in. He kind of arrives, and he's a great finisher, so I think this could be a future position for him. Yeah, absolutely. Final word, because I do believe we're going to be hearing from Pep Guardiola in just a moment. This midfield 3, which of course was, I think it was the same midfield 3 that started against Chelsea. It started also against Liverpool. Rodri with De Bruyne and Bernardo.
I think it's one of the most complete midfields, and I've seen us kind of,
it gives
play
you
a
everything.
while.
It gives you everything. I mean, we've always, in terms of Rodri, he doesn't possess that aggression that we see with someone like Fernandinho, but this guy has it all in terms of his ability to keep rotating the ball, transition the ball. He doesn't give the ball away. He's just a quality player, and then he's able to just now and again give those forward passes. But I think he, for me, has been a superb, seven games that he's played so far. And we've got De Bruyne who will start to sort of hit his rhythm because he's obviously had the injury. And Bernardo, I mean, he has started so brilliant. The energy, and I'm so glad. I mean, we were talking off air, just saying how we're glad that we're now starting to see him play, and we're not surprised in what he does because he's a quality player. So that energy that we see there in the midfield, I don't think you can find much better because you got quality of service, quality and energy in terms of being able to press and the ability to keep possession. It's like your perfect midfield.
It really, really is. I mean, I think Rodri's reading of the game as well, particularly this season, has gone to a new level. And final word on Bernardo, our Etihad Player of the Month, as chosen by the fans. I mean, he just again seems to have taken it to a new level. And if he keeps this up, I mean, it feels like it could be Player of the Year.
Yeah, I mean, when the rumours, I was probably like most fans, when the rumours in the summer that he could be leaving the football club, I was gutted. You only have to watch him, a little clip of him in training or in the warm-up, and he just brings a smile to your face.
Yeah.
He loves football. He's passionate about it. I remember watching him the first time in the Monaco game in the Champions League. I couldn't believe how good he was. He's almost like a little leaf. The distance that he travels and the willingness to work tirelessly for the team. He's such an unselfish player, and you need players like that. And as Shaun said, I think the balance between them three there, obviously De Bruyne in the final third, he's got the quality and his passing range. Rodri, he'll let them get on with it, but as a mover of the ball and moving the ball, and his disguise that he has on the football. Plus, I think his anticipation has improved massively.
Agreed.
He's had to, because the pace of the Premier League when he first arrived was too quick for him, and that's why Fernandinho got a lot of play. But I think now he's got up to speed. He understands what's expected, and it's great to have Fernandinho ready to come on, especially if it's a Manchester derby, because he loves them games. But as your one to go to for a standard, if there is a standard Premier League game, Rodri's been superb. So the balance in that three is superb.
Really, really is. And his nickname, Bernardo, is Bubblegum, I believe, in training. And I think in the Liverpool game at Anfield, we really saw why it was that run is one of the best runs I've ever seen from a City player. Right, now let's hear from our manager. This is Pep Guardiola speaking ahead of our game against Burnley, which is taking place at the Etihad, 3 o'clock kickoff.
Okay, standing by. Comes to selection. It's all about right now how players are doing. What have you seen in training from those that get a chance from the start today?
No, all the guys training well. So the guys who were not selected today could perfectly play. So I decide for this one like every game.
John Stones gets his first minutes of the season for Manchester City. I saw you say in your press conference he's an exceptional guy and understands the situation. So tells us that he's had a lot of patience about it.
No, John is a player, like a starter. Ruben and Naime were really, really well, but international break for many reasons, and today, and we decided for this one. It's not for a special. I trust a lot with all the players. When I make a selection, it's because the other ones was not selected in this specific game. It's because I don't like them or for any reason. So there are tactical results for the locker room, for the opponent, for different reasons.
And I know you said you'd love to pick all of them, but you can only choose 11. But when they do get a chance to play, it's an opportunity to show you how good they are. Raheem gets that from the start today after his comments in the week.
I know Raheem, so since the day one we are together, he has not shown me anything. I know perfectly. He has to prove himself for the team, and always he try. All the guys, all the football players around the world, when they play a game, they want to do it well. So sometimes they don't do it well. It's because the game itself is complicated, the opponent or their mates are not playing good for many, many reasons. So football is not just one player. And of course we need his specific qualities today, and hopefully he can help us to do a good game.
Thank you, good luck today.
You're very welcome.
As Pep Guardiola there speaking ahead of our game against Burnley. That is us in the studio in the Etihad Stadium. I think the players will be coming out to warm up in just a moment. The stadium is filling up slowly but surely. Quick word there on John Stones, Shaun. Obviously, he's kind of not at his start yet. just given, I think, because of the form of Ruben Diaz and Laporte. But a great chance for him again, just, I mean, not that he needs to remind City fans, but actually to go about kind of maybe trying to cement down his place again.
Yeah, he'll be excited about today, and he'll want to put in a solid performance, get that combination going with, well, obviously Ake is a part of the defence, and Laporte, just get that combination going. Again, he's when he was playing consistent, he was brilliant, and I think that'll be the thoughts he'll have in his head in terms of going out there performing well and being consistent. So he'll be looking forward to today as well.
It's funny as well because there were the similarities, isn't there, to the season last season, but role reversal with Laporte. Laporte was on the bench and just couldn't get in because Stones was so good, and that's kind of only been the reason he's not played. I think is because of that.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about it off air. The boys that were the Manchester City boys that were involved with England, they lost the Champions League final, which we want to forget about. But then they went and lost the Euros final as well.
Yeah.
Mentally, physically, they'll be all right because they're ultimate machines, they're fantastic athletes. But mentally, it's a lot to get over of them. Foden missed a little bit because he was injured of the championships anyway, so that might be a little bit easy. But for Kyle Walker, for John Stones, and for Raheem Sterling, it's a lot to get over. So I feel with his injury as well, he's been able to probably process everything that's been going on over the last 2-3 months. He looked sharp for England. I thought he played really well. Obviously, he got his goal.
Yeah.
John Stones is one of the best. But I think for Pep, it's a good headache to have. If you're going to play 2 centre-halves, you've got 3 quality. Ake, I wouldn't say he's at that level yet. He's not really proved himself at Manchester City as a player that can compete with them 3 players. But as a 3, to take a 2 from that and rotate that through the season, happy days.
It really
happy
is.
Days.
I think it's a great point as well on the mental fatigue as well. I think we sometimes forget that with the with professional players. Now, I can't believe I'm quite saying this, but the forward 3 for Manchester City today have all been shortlisted for the Ballon d'Or, which is, 10 years ago, I never ever thought I'd be saying that. But one person I think I want to focus on, and again after an incredible turnout for England as well, and he is on that 30-man shortlist, Phil Foden. Trev, I'd run out of words. It feels like the moon isn't even the limit for what he could do, and he's already doing.
Yeah, I got little hairs on the back of my neck there when you said that, because we wanted this from him, 2 or 3 years ago. We've had to be patient, but now what we're seeing at the end product, and it's not even the end product yet, he's still on his journey, he's still improving, but what we're seeing is phenomenal.
Yeah.
He's been spoken about in such high regards for years upon years at the club and within football. I think the club have managed him superbly well. Even at the beginning when he was maybe 17, 18, I'm thinking, get him out on loan, let's see him, we're not seeing enough of him. But obviously, these guys know what they're doing, the coaches, the people that are managing him. He's been working tirelessly at the City Academy. He's been training with top players, and we're starting to see the result of that patience. And physically, looks like he's turning into. We talk about getting man strength in football because young lads coming through, they might be great for 10 games, and then you see them come off it a little bit. They can't handle the intensity. He seems to have his man strength already, and what he's doing on the pitch, goals, assists, ruining players that are very well respected in the game, and big goals as well. It's not like, we see him score at Wembley. It was the League Cup final or assist, and you're thinking he turns up for big occasions. He affects the final third and
Champions League.
I couldn't be any more excited about a player than Phil Foden. I think he can go wherever he wants to go, and with the support and the management which he's getting, if he continues on that same kind of line, I think the world is his oyster.
Really, hopefully, I'm sure there'll be a few Ballon d'Ors. Maybe we might be talking about. I know Paul Dickoff actually said that 4th time that he thinks he'll win a Ballon d'Or. Off that, because I know you're both coaches and you kind of work with young talent yourself. How important, and what Trev said, has it been the way the club has managed Phil, and maybe not listened to the outside noise and trusted in the process and the coaches and keeping him around? Do you think, how key has that been in his development?
Well, huge. Again, the outside noises would have been, well, perhaps Phil should have went out on loan, etc. But the club know that the process is about him being around the best players, being with the best manager, learning, and we're now seeing the rewards of that. I'm always excited when I see Phil play because he affects games. He's a player that affects games. I saw a stat that actually said he's been the most offside player for City. And people can look at it 2 ways. I look at it from a positive. He's threatening to want to score goals or create goals. And so you could look at it in just that simple terms. Some people will say, yeah, but he needs to watch playing on the line and time the runs. And we've only had 7 games, and he's not played all 7 games. Yeah. So this tells me exactly what his stats say. He's played 2 games, scored 1 goal.
Yeah.
Phil Foden is an absolute beast. and so much more to learn, as Trev said.
Yeah.
He's a phenomenal player, but it's about, again, knowing and respecting the process, and City are the best at it.
Quick word as well, in the England games, in the international break. I mean, we've seen him kind of move over to the middle a bit. I think at the end of games, Pep's moved him out there. But, he got a full 90 minutes in the middle against Andorra. I mean, Trev, that centre midfield display, we talk about his finishing and him going forward and going past players, but it was the passing range and his touch, it was phenomenal. Yeah,
I think it was phenomenal. I agree with that. And to do it, listen, I know it's Andorra, but to do it on an international level, it's outstanding for a lad to do it at that age. And listen, we talk about Pedri for Spain. He plays in that whole more of a midfield role. I think it just shows how flexible he is with his game and how many strengths he's got. You talk about super strengths for a player. Aguero, strong in tight areas. He'll get his shot off. He's got a powerful shot. You look at Foden and he's super strength. There seems to be endless. He's got them all. Yeah. He can dribble. He can shoot from range. He can shoot from angles. His passing range from a deeper level. His movement off, willingness to run in behind. And not only is he looking to penetrate, he's looking to create space for his friends as well.
Yeah.
So if he's making that run and he's attracting a couple of defenders, all of a sudden you've got an overlap with Cancelo coming down the left. And you can almost, it's happened so much, you can almost visualise that happening now.
Yeah, you can.
So I think it shows the work that Pep's put into Phil, but also the players around him.
Yeah.
And it shows that everyone's taking things on board. And I think this is an evolving team again.
Yeah.
From the team that won a lot of things a few years ago, this team is evolving again. And actually, I think Pep's getting more strict. Even in the final third, he doesn't want certain risks being taken now, because he really thinks that with the player levels that he's got and the quality that he's got on the pitch, that he can dictate literally into the 6-yard box.
Yeah, it's insane. It really is insane. Question for you both. Obviously, I think he's still got a lot to maybe on the left, but where for you both is his best position, do you think, or could it be? Is it going to be out on the wing, or do you think it could be in the middle?
For me, I think it's, in that 10 row, 8 row, because we play, for me, two number 10s. And I think that's his best position because he affects games. He's wanting to. We see he has the ability to score outside the box. He's got a beautiful strike on him to, again, 22, 25 yards. He's got that ability to strike balls and work goalkeepers. The dribbling aspect, being able to drive at teams and create things. I like him more central. I think if we were to ask him, who does he mirror his game on? I would say probably Messi. And there's a lot of qualities that I see of him that I think he must mirror his game on Messi again, because it affects games, whether it's dribbling, whether it's scoring, or whether it's assisting. And some people may say, well, calm down. But I do see signs of his game. So for me, I would say in that 8-10 role or number 10 rule.
Somewhere there. Same for you, do you think?
I can't believe Shaun's gone there with Messi. I'm absolutely shocked. I understand what he's saying, but I'm not gonna put that kind of comparison on Phil.
No, not 100%. I'm saying that.
I absolutely understand that. I see him inside. I think, and not listen. I bear the flag for the wingers as much as anyone, because I used to play on the wing. I think he's wasted on the wing. It's great to play him there because he's getting game time. He's got elite players against him. He's getting games at international level. He's getting games in the Premier League, in the Champions League. But when you've got that amount of tools, when you've got that amount of skill set, you can't be out on the wing because you need to be able to impact the game more. And I think Phil, as he gets older, he won't want to be out there. He'll want to be where it's happening and where it's being created and you can create and you can set moves off, and then you can, because he's got the mobility, he can go and get in the box and get the goals as well. So he's got the lot. Listen, the only thing he's not got is height, and I'm sure he's working on that to be the best version of himself in the air. But really exciting time for Manchester City and for Phil Foden.
Yeah, I mean, he can probably play in net as well, but he's probably one of them. He's good at everything, isn't he? I love Roy Keane saying that as well. He said he'll play anywhere on the pitch and he'll influence the game.
You actually find that top players, when it comes down to it, if like in training, they'll go in net and you think, he could be a keeper.
Were there any actually of that? Can you remember any players that you played with who were actually surprisingly really good in net? Was there any of them?
I was all right.
Were you all right in net?
I was easy to lob though because I'm only 5'8".
Hey, you licking his lip when you seen Trevor net, were you sure?
Yeah, just shoot on sight.
Oh, gents, class. Well, we're just going to take slight pause from proceedings because there's a special presentation taking place at the Etihad today. Now, in 1966, the 67-68 season, Man City, of course, 76th season of league football for them, and it was the second consecutive season in the first league division. Now, there were 4 players: Stan Horn, Paul Hintz, Bobby Kennedy, and the late Harry Dowd, who unfortunately they didn't win their winners' medals that year because the club at that year, they only received a smaller allocation. So today, themselves and their families are going to be presented with an exact replica of those gold medals that the rest of their teammates received when they did win it in that 1967-68 season. And we can actually hear from one of them now. Here is Stan Hall speaking about that season and, of course, getting the medal.
I didn't really think anything about it until the story broke and it was just forgotten. But when the fact came that I was going to receive this medal, I was absolutely overjoyed. Over the blue moon, as you might say. Yeah, it's a fantastic feeling. I know I didn't play that many games in the team, but I like to think that I contributed with the games that I did play and being a part of that squad. Fantastic time playing with some of the best players of that era, with the Bell, Summerby and Lee and Doyle and Oakes, tremendous players. Tony Buck, must mention the captain. Tony Buck, yeah, tremendous skipper. Yeah, so I'm absolutely delighted.
Well, thoroughly deserved and an absolute privilege. You're going to be able to bestow them with those medals. Of course, they were a very key part in that very successful team during the 60s for Manchester City. I know a lot of City fans watching this will remember those years as some absolute sensational years. That presentation is going to take place at half-time, so hopefully if you come back to Matchday Live, we might be able to show you a little bit of that as well, because I think it'll be quite a special moment here in the stadium. Right, let's take a look at this week's Cryptic City. So this will be your first one, Trev. Let's have a little look. We've got clues here, and then you can send us in your guesses. Either tweet us or send us them on the WhatsApp. And if you're sending in a guess, send in a question as well. Can you work out, keep your guesses to yourself for now, who this player is this week? I'm trying to think. So we got Pep there, obviously. We got the back of Grealish's shirt. I'm struggling here, you know, boys. I am. Any idea, Shaun or Trev?
Is that?
It can be past or present.
Breed of dog. Is that? I don't know. I think it's a
Great Dane or
Great Dane.
Doberman.
Yeah.
Is it great? Dame Pep Van? No. Doesn't work, does it? Right, well, there. I tell you what, it's a tricky one this week. We're going to keep looking at that. If one of you might at home might be thinking, "You idiots in the studio, it's this." If you do, send us it over, and we're going to work through some of your guesses, and I'll be saying some of the ones who guessed it correctly a little bit later on in the show. Now, one man who is playing today, who loves scoring against Burnley, is Riyad Mahrez. But is he going to have it as easy today? Well, let's take a look at who he's going to be coming up against. Burnley's starting 11 looks like this. So we've got Pope starting in net, and it's looking like Loughton, Tarkowski, Collins and Peters. And then you've got Brownhill, who's having a brilliant season actually this year. Cork, Westwood, McNeil, Cornet, and of course Wood, who we've seen so many times be an absolute nuisance for any defence, I think, in the Premier League. Of course, managed by Shaun Dyche. Trev, I'll come to you. What do we think we're going to see from Burnley today?
Well, I think Riyad Mahrez has won the lottery because not being disrespectful, but Peters has won the league with Leicester City, but he's not the first choice left back. I've been really impressed with Taylor. I've covered a couple of Burnley's games this season in my commentary role, and he's been outstanding. He's picked up an injury. Peters has got the nod. As we've seen, Phil Foden with Milner. As you get older, it becomes very difficult. And if there's one player, if you're an ageing defender, you don't want to come against, it's Mahrez, because he can turn on a fifers. I mean, he will absolutely be rubbing his hands together, because I think if you can't dominate that player, there's something wrong. So if they get the ball to him, I think Mahrez is going to have a really good time. But all in all, you know what Burnley are going to be. They're going to be well organised. They're going to be fit. They're going to communicate well. They're not going to just hold the white flag up. They're going to make it really difficult for Manchester City. And actually, we were talking off air, and they've got a bit of better quality going forward.
Yeah.
You mentioned Browners having a superb season. Cork is a very technical player, very industrious player. McNeil, you know, under 21s. I don't think Burnley's going to be his level, you know, when it actually levels out and he gets to about 23, 24.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be top 8, maybe even top 6 player. So I think he's got quality there. And with Wood and Cornet, Cornet's come in. He looks lively, he's quick, he brings them something slightly different pace. And Wood, we know what he brings. He's going to make it uncomfortable for our defenders. So, all in all, you know what you're going to get. It says it on the tin, and the manager actually says it himself, Shaun Dyche. Well-organised team, but like Shaun said earlier, if we start the game well, get right amongst it, move the ball quickly, plenty of creativity with a disciplined way, I think we can get the better of them. If we get the early goal, it could be an easy afternoon. Yeah, early goal could be key. And Pep's has been waxing lyrical about Shaun Dyche, and actually consistently every season delivered a team that can definitely compete at the highest level in the Premier League. Chris Wood as well is somebody who I think always causes a bit of a nuisance, Shaun. Yeah. Do you think that if we don't get that quick start, then there is maybe a chance that Burnley might kind of work their way into the game, and actually we're going to have to make sure we're on side? This will be the only positive I'll give Burnley, and that is the longer it goes, then the better it is for them, because they'll have greater belief that we're holding out. Perhaps we can pinch that goal that can get us that 1-0 win. I think that's where they're going to sort of rest their laurels in terms of trying to get a result. When I look at their team, they just do not score enough goals. Their goals are spread through these centre backs, Tarkowski and Benmi. These are the ones that actually score goals. Woods is also obviously got a goal, but I think they average something like 3/4 of a goal for every game in the 7 games they play, which is just, when you look at that, you just think they just need to improve on goals. They are going to be a threat from set pieces, because again, this is really centre backs will be able to come up and show what their qualities are, because they do have that quality defensively in the air. But again, for me, I see City playing exceptionally well against them, and they're going to be looking for that set piece. So they don't score a lot of goals. I think when they get your chance, they really just need to take it. And that's the best I can do with Burnley. I think is what do you think is it a little bit? I mean, it might not be, but I mean, bar the last 0-0, Trevor. And we were saying this. I think the last 3 or 4 games against Burnley, we've at home here. We've put 5 past them to their none. Is that a little bit like kind of unflattering on Burnley, because it's actually not a fair representation of how well they did, or actually have we been that good? I think a mixture of both. I think they've been good in general, but when you talk about the levels that are Manchester City and the players that they've got at their disposal and the players that Burnley have got, without being disrespectful, if they've got a couple of injuries, they're going to be a lot weaker. Yeah. And I think that's where the disparity comes. But when you talk about honest boys, honest professionals, working hard, preparing hard at the training ground, they've got a fantastic new training ground at Burnley. I've been up there. The work that Shaun Dyche is putting into the players, the strength and conditioning, because they have to do everything better because they're working with lesser talented players. So I think when Pep comes out and gives compliments to managers like Shaun Dyche, it's not just to bump their ego. It's because he really believes that they're doing a fantastic job being able to sustain Burnley in the Premier League on the funding that they've got. And I applaud Shaun Dyche. I've spoke to him a few times when I was doing my UEFA A licence. I'm not sure that you spoke to him, Shaun, when you was doing yours, but when I spoke to him and he was talking about he'd love to play expansive football, he'd love to have a team of players that could compete, play in different formations. But at the moment, he hasn't got that at Burnley Football Club. So what he's going to do, he's going to set them up so they can compete, especially when it comes to teams like Manchester City, and at least stay in the game and not be getting whacked 9-0. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You don't see him getting beat 9-0 because he's got a group of men that have got a great team spirit. They've got a great shape, and they stick to the task. And I think it's massive compliments to Shaun that they've got a team that can compete in the Premier League. Completely agree, Trevor. All right, we're going to take a slight pause here, Shaun. I want you to get thinking, because I know Burnley, whenever that gets mentioned, I don't know, your sixth sense seems to tingle because you enjoyed scoring against them. So we'll be speaking about that in just a moment. But before that, Andy Morrison is also here at the Etihad Stadium today. Of course, City legend. He's actually going to be joining Alistair Mann for the co-commentary today for the Burnley game. You can catch that on the Man City app, of course. But he is pitchside, and we can now hear his thoughts ahead of our game against Burnley.
Okay guys, so I'm joined here by Andy Morrison, who'll be doing the live commentary on the Man City app later. Now, Andy, I guess we've seen the lineup now, and I guess in a way it's a bit of a new look back four for City, isn't it, today?
Yeah, maybe that's with one eye on, the midweek game, the importance of it. I don't think it disrespects Burnley in any way. I think they're so very, we got such a strong squad that whatever team go out, you expect to win the game.
Yeah, exactly. I think we know that Burnley are going to have a bank of maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 behind the ball. So with Cancelo in that back line, do you think he could possibly go into midfield and we'll go into a back three or something like that, just to have that extra man, going forward?
Yeah, there will be rotations, and You know, the front 3 or 4, we're not sure who will be the 9, recognised 9. So yes, it'll change all over, but to be able to say that either fullbacks are going to step in and create the overload, you're not sure which side it'll go.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, in that front 3 as well, Riyad Mahrez, he started last season, he scored a hat-trick. Every time he plays against him, he does seem to score, doesn't he?
Yeah, I don't think it was a surprise to any of us that he was in the starting 11. With his record, it's incredible, and you know, and they'll be aware of that as well. But you know, how you stop a player of his quality it's easier said than done.
It's going to be difficult for him, but what threats do you reckon Burnley can pose today? I mean, they're an aerial team, obviously quite physical, so I think that'll be their game plan.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think it's hard for the manager to sell anything positive, you know, with the record, and logic and stats say that everything is stacked against them today, but it's the Premier League, and you know, you have to earn the right to win every single game, and that's what City will be doing. They'll make sure they should pay them the utmost respect and hope that their qualities will come through. But aerially, set plays, you know, they're direct, they go forward quickly, which I think leaves them open to counter-attack because they're not able to get up and support that initial attack. So, but yeah, the heightened physicality on set plays, we're going to have to be very switched on that.
Well, hopefully our qualities do show. So one last thing, Andy, I'll leave you with a score prediction for today's game.
I've always gone with both teams to score and a City win, but I don't see Burnley scoring today. And so I'm going to be respectful and stop at 3-0.
Not another 5, no.
I'm going to go for 3.
Right, okay, we heard it here first, 3-0 City. The live commentary will be on the Man City app with Andy Morrison and Ali Mann. Back to you guys in the studio.
Adam, thank you so much. That's Adam Monk there with Andy Morrison. As he said there, catch him commentate with Alistair Mann on the Manchester City app. Now, just before we went and heard from Andy Morrison, we were speaking or touched upon, Shaun, your goal-scoring exploits against Burnley. It was a team that you did enjoy scoring against. One of the most memorable goals, or shall I say 3 goals, was the hat-trick in '99. It was a 6-0 win. I'm sure you have fond memories of that. But I just wondered, what was it about Burnley, do you think? Or do you just have those teams that you just seem to do well against?
Yeah, there are teams that you look forward to come when the fixtures come out, and Burnley was one of those teams. You know, I was like, Man United, when do we play them, or when do we play Burnley? Because I always scored a brace or a hat trick. It was just one of those teams, and I just had that belief. I just had that belief that I'm scoring against Burnley, and I didn't go in the game thinking I'm gonna score a hat trick, but I just knew it was a game I scored, and it was like, okay, when do we play Burnley? And I was just, from the time I woke up to the time I arrived, to play, everything just went right because I knew it was Burnley and I know it was scoring. There was no way it wasn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, Burnley, I enjoyed, playing against them. Just one of those teams.
One of those teams. Did you have any Trevor? Was there ever anyone you enjoyed playing against?
Well, there was a couple. Fortunately for me, one of them was Manchester United, so I scored against them for West Ham and obviously in a couple of derbies at Manchester City. And the other one was Sunderland for some reason. I had a pal, Danny Diccio, who used to play for them, and a few pals who played over there, and I always seemed to get up for that game, and I seem to have decent success against Sunderland.
No, I think we've got it here as well, actually. If you to jog the memory. This was actually your 50th Premier League goal as well, Trevor.
Oh, wow.
Hello.
Check that celebration. I do this regular. Love it.
Oh dear. Yeah, it was a special goal. Special time in my life. Very difficult time in my life, and to score a goal for Manchester City is always obviously a blessing. So yeah, no, it was great to score against Sunderland, and it was not a bad finish.
It was not a beautiful finish. I think as well we've got one of your goals. It's always nice to look at any City players scoring against United. But Trevor, I think this is yours here. Sylvain Distin as well. I mean, what a captain he was, I think, as well.
Yeah,
Big David
man.
James,
top man.
Sylvain, yes.
This is when we're the underdogs as well, so
yeah.
It was a huge game for Manchester City and our fans, especially at the Etihad. And I mean, Sun Ji-hai there, what a player he was before he got his knee injury. This is a bit more. It's just one of them where he just gets out of his instinct.
Instinct.
The girl never moves. Kids, the girl never moves. He just swiveled on that one.
I remember watching that goal as well, and it just erupted, didn't it, as well?
I mean, it was one of the most fantastic feelings scoring in a Manchester derby. I scored the year before and completely lost lost everything. As in, once ecstasy, I just went blank. I took my shirt off and everything. It was never done it since, never done it before. I just lost it, and yeah, this was the second goal in consecutive derbies at the Etihad that I scored in, and yeah, amazing feeling. It did. The Etihad erupted. It was a brilliant feeling.
And know those, you kind of said it there, both of you, but for young players watching, are there moments sometimes it's kind of you're not even thinking there. I guess it just happens, doesn't it? Without
I mean, people say, what about your celebration? Why didn't you do celebration? My brain wasn't even present.
Yeah.
You know, when you score, like sometimes, especially when it's a massive game against a team, you know, that had been winning everything, all the silverware for a decade before, and you're playing against them and you're thinking, have I raised my levels enough where I can go and affect this game, score a goal, win the game? And when it actually comes and materialises and you're part of it, you can just lose it. And it's an incredible nothing would replicate it. At the time, I said it's better than spending time with my wife, in different words. I had to pay for that for a long time.
Oh, bless you. Bless you. Still paying for it now.
I am.
You're probably wondering why have you got a big blue box on your knee, Cal, since we came back. Well, there it is, Dan. There's the iPad. But it's because, you both are obviously etched in Manchester City's history and will be, but a particular piece of history for you, Trevor, because this was actually taken from the first team building in a lovely display cabinet. Not sure if you recognise this, but this was actually Trevor Sinclair's boot, because you scored the first ever goal at the Etihad Stadium in a competitive competition. We don't have the goal, but do you remember the goal? And also, do you remember the boot?
I remember the goal. I'm looking at the boot thinking, how did I get my foot in there? Because we had a look earlier, they're size 8.5, and I walk around in 10.5, and when I do running, I walk around in an 11. But we were talking about the technical part of boots and how they've evolved over the times. But yeah, I remember the boot, I remember the goal. It was a volley from a corner, it got nodded out, and I think I might have chested it and volleyed it in from the edge of the box. But yeah, I'm just looking at the boot thinking, how did I get my foot in there? Because that would be tight.
Well, it was so interesting to hear you say it, because I mean, you were great trainers, but as you say, I was thinking, I don't know how you fit in it. I mean, what was that be just so the boot was tight around the foot?
You had to have it tight.
Thank Puma, that's all. Has nothing to do with Trev.
Puma buzzing as well.
Nothing to do with Trev. Right? By the way,
all about the boot.
I love the fact first goal at the Etihad. Every time I go to the museum now, I'm going to be looking for that boot. Hey, let me get a little touch of that boot.
That's it. We should now just rub it to lock any strikers.
Listen, it's nice to be remembered for positive things. So yeah, it was an honour to score the first goal at the Etihad.
It was great as well, only because I'd really enjoyed it. But Chappie, of course, who is he's an iconic name at Manchester City Football Club. I know you both work very closely with him, speak very fondly of him. But just tell us as well, because he actually did a slight modification. This was really interesting.
Yeah, not on this actual boot, but the boot, as you can see at the time, it was a little bit clumpy at the bottom where the studs are. And I enjoyed training in moulds, and what I ended up doing is evolving a mould, taking 4 of the moulded studs out, shaving them off, getting some studs, getting some inserts, and putting 4 new metal studs in, so you've got good grip, but you've got the feel of a moulded boot. And now, obviously, boots have evolved now, but that's something that the great Chapman used to do for his players, and that's why we hold him in such high regard.
Yeah, he's class. I mean, you as well, Shaun, you must have had great times with Chappie as well over the years.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, that's exactly what we used to do as players, as Trev said. But interestingly, Chappie hasn't left his left boot. All his great goals would have come with that right boot. Chappie, where's the left boot?
Where is it?
Has he scored a goal with the left boot?
Hey, I'll tell you what.
Thank Puma.
I was going to say, it's a good job it is Puma, because if it was any other ones, I don't know if we'd be talking about it. There is maybe a documentary in Where is the Left Boot?
That was before my time. Obviously, I knew what was coming.
You knew what was coming. Right, okay, well, listen, we've got a great new story and feature coming to City Plus, which, of course, is Manchester City's brilliant streaming service that you can subscribe to. Whole load of exclusive content. And we're going to get into this, man, in just a second, but this is coming very soon.
Hello. How are you? Very well. How are you?
I remember when I signed for City at the stadium. Outside, when I go to my car, it was a big support of Manchester City. And he said to me, just do 2 things. Beat United twice. And we did it.
Manchester City win at Old Trafford.
This is a manager that's going to take us everywhere. We're fantastic.
That will preserve the perfect start.
I just loved him. I loved him from the off.
Nedum on Yuaha, and City have turned it around.
there was a feel-good factor there, and I think that was because of just him, his personality and his style.
Oh, yes!
Such a special goal.
By Michael Johnson! Oh, what a hedge!
The Brazilians have a certain way of doing things.
That was a great time, even if it was short.
It's 8 for Middlesbrough!
Because of the personality Sven was, everybody wanted him to succeed.
That was a long time ago.
Cannot wait for that Sven-Goran Eriksson special. And of course, Trevor, a man that you played under, what are your memories of working and playing with Sven-Goran Eriksson?
Well, very grateful because he was the first person or first manager to give me a cap for England. He was a charming man, you know, he was a gentle-spoken man, very tactical, made sure that individually, collectively, as a team, we knew our jobs, set us up well, quite a calming influence. And I think, if anything, when I look at his coaching staff, he had Steve McLaren, who's quite calm himself. I think maybe he just needed a little terrier in there. At times, when we were just slightly underachieving or not giving everything that we were supposed to be giving, that could just tear into us a little bit. And we didn't have that in the coaching staff when Sven was with England. But I think if we did, that could have been the difference and maybe helped us get a bit further in that World Cup.
Everyone speaks so highly of him. I think anyone who has come across him, really.
Yeah.
I think I remember as well there was real excitement amongst fans when we signed Sven. It just never quite transpired for him. Did it?
No, it never really did domestically. I thought he did very well with England over his period of time. I think he's got one of the highest win percentages. I was looking at it recently, and I think he's got, you know, but he was a charming man. And like one of the perks when you were with Sven, like usually when you're with England squads and that, you go to nice restaurants and but Sven would go to the top, like I'm talking really, absolute top. He loved that part of the job and being in, you know, the glitzy places, and that was something that I really enjoyed.
I bet. Well, man, he looks like that though as well, doesn't he? He looks like such a classy guy, Sven-Goran Eriksson. And I wondered, Shaun, were there any other kind of, you say you have fond memories because he gave you his, you know, your first England cap. When he met any manager, sorry, Shaun, go on.
No, I think Paul Dickov also speaks highly of him.
From Leicester.
Yeah, because Paul was under him and stuff. I mean, I never had the experience to be managed under him or anything, but again, you hear one or two players, they do speak highly of him.
He's a class act. He's a class act, you know. He expects a certain level of football, certain standards. And if you play and train within that them standards, he's going to be a different class for you. I just thought he was a really good communicator. It wasn't his first language, obviously he's Swedish, but great communicator. Made sure everyone knew exactly what their job was. Always had a smile on his face as well, so it's always nice going into any job, not just football, any job you go into, if you've got a smile on your face and you're having a bit of a laugh. Obviously when it's work time, you get down to it and you're getting on with the hard work, but around that, he always had fun, and that's one thing that really stands out with Sven.
One of the things, well, just final word I wanted to ask you, because we spoke about it off air, but obviously that kind of, McLaren kind of ran the kind of drills and a lot of the coaching, and he was very much just more knew what he wanted and then his team around him would execute. I found that quite interesting. How was that for a player?
I think it was natural because obviously with Steve, he's an English person. I've worked with him before with the England squad anyway, and Steve he's a really bubbly character. You know, he's one of the. I think if you're a calm man like Sven, you don't need a calm coach. You need a little bit of conflict and a little bit of a change between the two. And he was perfect. You know, I thought they worked really well together. He was very bubbly, Steve, very upbeat. He'd get involved in the little rondas before training. Again, joking, making it fun.
Yeah.
But a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of energy. And like, obviously, you know, Shaun's going into coaching. He's been doing coaching for quite a while. He's coming into the academy. All I would say is, one thing that you mustn't lose when you start coaching is that enthusiasm, because it's infectious. You know, it puts a smile on everyone in the studio's face. You know, you're a fun guy to be around. Make sure, whether it's the under-8s, whether it's the under-23s, make sure you take that energy and that enthusiasm, that fun with you, because if you do, players won't be able to resist but having a good time.
Yeah, class. I'm just thinking as well, Shaun, I'm just thinking... For
they got a firecracker coming.
They don't know what's about
to. They don't know what's about
to be coached by Shaun Goater, though. I mean, that just is class. And are you excited for kind of
I am,
the role,
but this is me, and this is you know, when I'm on the field of coaching, that's the energy I bring, because we all know that we've been there where we've had coaches and we just went, oh, this is just not, you know, enjoyable.
Yeah.
So having that energy, you know, obviously with the knowledge is you've got to bring it. because then the players feed off of that. Even if it's just a simple pass, it's given, communicating that in an enthusiastic way makes him go, yeah, I want to get that ball in nice and crisp, not just, well, I'm going to get it there.
Yeah, he likes to take his colour. Well, we can't wait to see how this grows and flourishes, Shaun, and City are better off for you being a part of the coaching setup. I know that for sure. Right, let's take a look at our Cryptic City. Of course, this is where we ask you guys to try and work out which City player, past or present, are we talking about. Now, I can say, I'm not going to say them now, but we've had a couple of right answers come in already, and actually, there's been a moment of divine intervention here in the studio, because we have a very good guess from Trevor Sinclair. We won't reveal what it is, but we're thinking you might have absolutely nailed it, Trevor.
Yeah,
out of nowhere.
There's a couple that just sprung to mind there. It's a player that I played with, so it'd be a bit embarrassing if I didn't get it.
The gallery likes that. The gallery did like that, Trev. Okay, well, if you're thinking, I've got it, get your guesses into that hashtag on Twitter, Man City, or you can use our WhatsApp. And remember as well, at half-time and full-time, I'm going to be putting some of your questions to our guests in the studio, Trevor Sinclair and Shaun Goetz. So please keep them coming in. Just use that WhatsApp number there, and we'll get through as many as we can. Now, if you've just tuned in, we have got, let me have a look here, 9 minutes until we kick off against Burnley here at the Etihad Stadium. So let me just bring you the team news if you've not chanced to have a little look. It looks like this. A few names that you might be surprised to see in our starting 11. Zach Stefan starts in goal, and that is down to, of course, Edison and Jesus just struggling to get back in time. We have John Stones and Laporte also being partnered by Cancelo, and we think Ake at fullback. Middle three of Rodri, Bernardo and De Bruyne, and a forward three of Riyad Mahrez, Phil Foden and Raheem Sterling. On the bench, Scott Carson, Kieran Slicker, Kyle Walker, Ruben Diaz, Ilkay Gundogan, Jack Grealish. Zinchenko returns from injury, so great to see him back on the squad list. Fernandinho and Cole Palmer. Starting 11 for Burnley is Pope, Loughton, Tarkowski, Collins, Peters, Brownhill, Cork, Westwood, McNeil, Cornet and Wood. And I can tell you, full time in Watford against Liverpool, it's Watford 0, Liverpool 5. I am going to ask the gallery, please don't tell me, has Mo Salah scored, gallery? He has got a goal, brilliant. Didn't change him to my captain on the fantasy football. Oh, and he got an assist as well, great, fantastic. I'm going to give up already this season. And remember, if you are doing the fantasy football, we've got a Man City league that you can be a part of. So all the presenters are doing it as well. We've got some of the players doing it as well. And there might be a little prize maybe for somebody who finishes top. I might be making that up, and I'm not making that up. There is a prize there for whoever finishes top. So if you're thinking it's a bit of you, get involved in that. Speaking of the teams, if you've just tuned in, we've got Trevor Sinclair and Shaun Goetz with us. Gents, it's not too long till kick-off now. We've spoke about actually how key the start is going to be, Shaun, for us. And a fast start is what you're hoping for to get the goal. Yeah, I think, again, history has showed that when City has scored in the first opening 15 minutes, we've gone on to win the game convincingly. And if I'm right, I believe in the last 4 games that we've played at home in all competitions, we've won 5-0. Yeah, so, yeah. I'm excited about today, and the opening 15 minutes is going to tell me a lot in regards to whether that's another potential scoreline. I think he's been kind of spoken about quite a bit, Trev, but Raheem Sterling I think he's only started 1 out of the Premier League games this season, so big chance for him to flourish this season.
Big chance for him, yeah. I mean, I think, listen, he's come out of a couple of statements which I think he's been very fair. He wants to play football like any footballer. He's not been involved in a massive extent at the beginning of the season, and he's aired that, which, everyone's got the right to say things, especially if they say it in such a respectful way. I think he's done that. I'm glad that he's playing. I don't think it's got anything to do with his interview. I think he was going to be playing anyway. Agreed. Pep's the boss. He'll play players when he wants. And listen, he's put a bit of pressure on himself. He's got to produce a performance. We know he's got it in him. It's against Burnley, so it's probably not one of the most difficult teams to play well against. But yeah, the ball's with him, and hopefully he can put in a good performance today. Brilliant. Well, gents, it's been a pleasure. We can see there our boys are in the tunnel ready to come up. So the final thing for me to do before we hand over to Alistair Mann and Andy Morrison for the commentary is to get predictions. And remember, Matchday Live will be back at half-time. Then at full-time, we'll be hearing from our guests. Shaun, what's your prediction? I'm going to go 5-0. Oh! I just think we're so close to history of being able to win 5 games consecutive against a team and score 5 goals. So I'm going 5-0. Come on, boys. Come on, boys. And Trev, what about from yourself? Yeah, you can go 5-0 as well, I can, yeah, I can. I'll leave that. I've got to speak to Shaun Dyche next week. Better not say that. I'm going to go 3-0. I think they'll be competitive. And like I said earlier, they're going to stick to the task. But I just feel they've got a little bit more going forward. We've corner. They'll cause us a couple of problems. Don't think they'll have enough to score, but I think we'll be comfortable 3-0 win.
Fantastic. Gents, it's been a pleasure. Burnley are coming out there of the tunnel, so we'll be back at half-time. Get yourself a cup of tea, and we also have a full match replay as well available a little bit later on, of course. That'll be on City Plus. Guys, enjoy the game. We'll see you at half-time. Come on, City.
This is Premier League football, and there's no room for racism anywhere. We monitor abuse in the stands, where racism will not be tolerated. With dedicated teams, we will continue to investigate discrimination online. And now, those found guilty will be banned from every Premier League stadium. When it comes to fighting racism, rivalries don't matter. Thank you for your support. We will continue to take action. But we can all do more. We all need to tackle this together. Challenge it, report it, change it. There's no room for racism anywhere.
Two weeks on from their magnificent display at Anfield, City return to the Etihad, looking to build